Hi, I'm Mark Honeybone from Property Ventures, and welcome to our podcast where we interview prominent members of the investment community along with other professionals in the New Zealand property market. To check us out, take a look at propertyventures.co.nz. We hope you enjoy today's podcast.
Hi, I'm Mark Honeybone from Property Ventures Real Estate, back with the New Zealand Property Podcast and Video Series. And lucky I'm sitting here today with Steve Groves. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And one of the problems I guess a lot of people are having, or the media are talking about, are how experienced developers are when you're building a new development. And I've been on a few calls and been asked by a few people to comment on that. So we're pretty lucky here to have a chap that's done one or two developments, we'll say. And we're just going to talk a bit about what Steve does, this company, Urban Collective, and then we're going to talk about the Wander Apartments, which we're selling, and that's one of the reasons we're here. So, but yeah, first again, welcome along, and how long have you been developing for?
We've been in this game 20 years now.
Yep, 20 years.
Maybe fractionally longer, 22, I guess.
Yep, nice.
And Wonder will be project number 60 for us.
And number 60, so it's not a first, not a fifth, not a tenth.
Not our first radio, no. We've done a few of them.
Great. And
so Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Queenstown, Dunedin, Northland.
Right.
But at the moment we're mainly focused on Auckland and Queenstown.
Okay, right. Oh, that's pretty cool. And how was Urban Collective born? Did that start 20 years ago, or did that start more recently, or?
No, so business partner Kelly McEwen and myself have been in this game together for that 20 odd years, and Urban Collective itself was born 10 years ago to sort of meet a niche for people looking for more like a home replacement.
Right.
And quite often, I think in the past, apartments were considered, sort of with the blinkers on, they were considered to be student shoeboxes for a long time, and we recognise that apartments can be, a really desirable lifestyle choice and somewhere aspirational to live. So more like a home replacement type of product.
Right.
We're not the only one doing it, but we strive to create quality apartments that. Well, I think that the acid test is if we wouldn't live in it ourselves, then we wouldn't build it.
No, 100%. And it's nice coming to a developer. For me, I deal with a lot of different developers, and to come to one that's done so many developments. I mean, you've been through what two property cycles. You've seen the market
At least,
full at least
GFC.
twice.
Yeah.
And the finance is the other big thing, and that's one of the big things at the moment, of course, is finance for a lot of developers. Not only your home buyers and investors out there, but the developers are also going through the same pain, and a lot of pain because you've got the extra added disadvantages of the limited product coming from overseas and the price of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges at the moment.
Yeah, so again, and that's where a lot of the inexperienced developers, I suppose, struggle right now, and where people like yourself are doing better. So Urban Collective, last 10 years, is that when you went around the country, not only Auckland, or?
We have built a lot of products. Initially it was just under different banners, each apartment, each development would have its own branding and its own name, but we decided to create Urban Collective specifically as a brand, so that you could go forward with that design intent in mind, and people could see that that's one of our products.
Yeah, and I guess you're an architect and a designer, don't you, that actually sort of in-house, I guess, will they understand what you're trying to do when you do them, I suppose.
Yeah, we use different architects on different projects, but quite often, I guess the main one we use is Paul Brown on our apartment projects, and we've done a lot together. He actually bought space in this building we're sitting in, 59 France, runs his architecture practice out of here, so and wherever we can, we like to keep it local.
Yeah.
And like sitting here in this building, 59 France, we've got our surveyor across the road there, our building manager is also across the road there, architect is there.
You built this thing, and Wander Apartments are 50 metres up the road.
Wander's in the same street, so wherever we can, we keep it as local as possible.
And you live in, we're sitting here in Eden Terrace, you live in Eden Terrace yourself?
Yeah, one of our previous projects called The Citizen I purchased and live in myself, so from here that's about a 3-minute walk. So
Yep.
ideally, we love this little area. If I can walk to sites, that's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Citizen, you live in that sort of one you built, and that's one some listeners here would have will know of.
Yeah,
Knows
Citizen
it is here
was
at this part of town.
Citizen was a conversion. It was actually built. The base building was built for Air New Zealand in the mid-70s.
Right.
As
Okay.
their data centre. So it's built like a bomb shelter, and it had these really cool exposed concrete ceilings.
Right.
And we built 4 new floors on top, 93 apartments total. So I bought and live in that one, and then the inquiry, I guess, out of those exposed concrete ceilings then drove the design ethos for this building, 59 France, with these exposed concrete ceilings. And we've once again, for the Wonder Apartments, brought in that sort of exposed, deliberately industrial kind of feel to it, with like exposed concrete ceilings with really cool texture and grain and exposed galv sprinklers and conduit. And it's got quite a neat feel to it.
Yeah, and this building's great. So this building here was finished when October, just
2020.
a year and a half ago. And how long did this one take to build, and how many?
Typically a 2-year build.
Okay, and
this particular one, they still managed to finish, I think, 5 weeks early.
Right.
Sorry,
early.
9 weeks early, and they spent 5 weeks in COVID lockdown. So.
Wow. Now you haven't heard that too often with any developers around the country the last couple of years.
Our construction partner C&P on that one, they did really well with that.
Yep.
Especially in those first few lockdowns, nobody knew what was happening, and they pulled some rabbits out of hats for that one.
Right. Yeah, they're a great developer around town. They do a lot in the good parts of Auckland, and in fact they built half of the Alexandra Park that we've also dealt with.
Yes.
So,
very experienced construction team.
And they're doing the same down the road in the Wander Apartments as well.
Yeah, so they built this one for us, and a lot of good learning on this building with these exposed surfaces and things. So same team going to build Wander Apartments for us.
Nice. I will be doing a video just of this, a wee bit of the showroom, and maybe just one other thing if I can afterwards. So if you want to click on that, you'll be able to see that after the video that we're doing at the moment. That's all good. So you've already sort of mentioned a couple of the main consistent features of what you build now. You've already talked about the exposed and the higher ceilings than most have. I guess that's one of the main features, or what do you look at when you do development such as the one down the road?
Yeah, I think maybe not so much the specific features of exposed concrete and things, but more about the design. We're heavily design driven and very focused on spatial efficiency. So prices and sizes, what they are these days, it'd be lovely to have all of them be 200 square metre apartments, but more often than not they need to be slightly smaller to reach a price point, and thus the spatial efficiency is crucial. So we're really focused on making every single square metre work, and no wasted hallways and corridors and things that you don't need. So heavily design driven, like a really nice set of finishes, and the standard these days has raised, and people expect more. So we are not really interested in doing boring white jib boxes. You see so many of those, and just strive for something different. Yeah,
no, that's fantastic. And then what we see here, and when we walked around this, the apartment block here, it was great to see the differences of what I've seen here and other such developments around town. And one thing I like what you've done, you live in the area, you know the area, you've built apartments in this area, your market research, I guess, is pretty thorough. You get it, you get what people are here, and even, for example, the Wander Apartments, which we are selling, and which we want you all to come have a look at the showroom here and have a look at that. But it's just an interesting thing that's a lot hard for a lot of the old timers my age and older. Is things with the car parks, and there's a lot of people disturbed about Christchurch and some of the suburbs in Auckland with no car parks, which is probably a good reason sometimes to not be happy with that. But we've no car park, for example, in the Wander Apartments you've done here, which is so close to town, right close to where the train station's about to happen. But you want to tell them how that occurred, and that really occurred for a bit of trial and error, didn't it?
Yeah, a combination of factors have led to that on this particular Wander development. One is the site itself is a long, skinny rectangle, and it's just quite awkward to fit traditional car parking into it.
Yep.
And at one point we looked at digging a basement and putting a robotic car park stacker in there. there's a lot of market resistance to that sort of, especially recently there was one in Melbourne where a car fell into the stacker, and I believe it's still in there and they can't work out how to get it out.
Really?
And thus everybody else's is still stuck in there too.
Yeah.
And also progressively in the last few developments we've made car parks optional.
Yeah.
And market forces being what they are, the prices have kept increasing as well. So typically a car park in this area is sort of $100,000 now.
Yeah.
And they're just very expensive to build. So making them optional has been an interesting observation. So in the Citizen, I think only 50% of them were sold.
Right.
Sorry, the other way around. 70% of them were sold with car parks.
Yep.
And in this building here, 59 France, 50% of them were sold with car parks.
Right.
And so that trend is declining. People aren't necessarily wanting them or buying them.
And I think you said when we first met, there's 35 or 30 odd apartments have been sold in the Wonder Apartments,
we'd got
and none of them really
through
wanted.
the sales, and
None of them wanted.
Nobody had requested or bought a car park, so we made the decision to delete them. And there are no car parks in that project, but this location is so handy, and you can walk pretty much anywhere you need. The CRL rail line's coming online pretty soon, and it's living up the road myself and knowing the area quite well. Personally, I don't cook, so I walk every night looking for food, and it's 6 or 7 minutes to walk up to K Road, and 2 minutes to Simon Street, and half an hour to Ponsonby if you want to go that far. Or it's just so central and so handy that it really opens that option up. And Ubers are so cheap, and Lime scooters and things. It's faster for me to get to our Ponsonby office on my bicycle than it is in a car.
In a car, yeah.
And there's really good options now with car sharing and city hop cars, and you can rent a car for the weekend. They drop them off Friday night, pick them up Monday morning. And we realise it's not for everybody. And there are still, as you say, the dinosaurs like us who need cars, but we need cars.
I think we need cars, yeah.
But for a lot of people, it's not on the horizon. They don't care. So
I guess,
we're targeting that market.
Yeah, and that's the market that are buying these 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, I guess, and they, as I said, it's $100,000 to buy an extra you'd have on the price for a car park, or you can rent them for $100 a week or so, is it?
In this area, you can quite easily rent a car park for $60-70 a week.
Yeah. So
and there are quite a few around here. I know people in this particular building we're in now that rent in the area. But actually, when you add up when you purchase a car park at $100,000, most people have a mortgage for that, and you calculate the interest, and then a running cost on your car, and it's probably $12,000-13,000 a year for the privilege of owning that car park and running your car. So it does add up pretty fast.
Rent a car for a weekend and to go once a month to go to Tauranga or Hamilton. It's $300-400, and that's it. No other cost. It's pretty good.
Ubers around here are sort of $650, so it's pretty cheap.
No, that's great, and that's I guess one of the things for a lot of people, especially maybe investors here. The homeowners that want to buy in here will get that already because they're used to that. Or they can still get a car park up the road or around the corner or whatever. They can still park in the road or whatever to do that. But it's for investors, it's a mind shift, I guess, for people to think that's just where the market is and where we are here. It's so close to, on the top of the roof here, you can just see towns just below you. Yes. As I said, Ponsonby's below you, and it's right between all the motorways here. It's super handy. Super handy, that's for sure.
I had a young buyer come in a couple of weeks ago. Her parents were with her, and they insisted, "Oh no, you need a car park." And she says, "But Mum, I never learnt to drive, and I don't have a car. I don't have any interest. So why would I need one?"
Yeah.
And it's just that, in some cases, a generational kind of mindset. So it was interesting to see.
Yeah, and Wander Apartments, they're all 1 and 2 bedrooms. It's probably the same sort of reasoning, but do you want to explain, I guess, why you think you were looking at larger apartments at one stage, but the 1 and 2s are?
Yeah, so the mix we've ended up with
market research.
Yeah, the mix we've ended up with is 1 plus, 1 and a flexi room, and 2 bedrooms. And initially we did design some larger 3 bedrooms into this particular development, but a third of the way through the sales and pretty much no interest in those. So those things come and go. Sometimes there's a demand for them, sometimes there isn't. And as a developer, sometimes you have to make a decision and get on with a consent application and dice it up in a certain way. And also when we made the decision to eliminate car parks, the bigger format
Yep.
apartments were pretty much reliant on having car parks. So if you're buying a big 3-bedroom penthouse, you kind of expect a park or two. So
Yeah, true. Yep.
not having car parks then also drove, okay, maybe we don't need those big format. So the biggest one in this building now is 2 beds at about 66 metres.
Yep. No, all good. So experience of market research, you've got the 1 and 2 bedrooms, you haven't got car parks. What are the features here? Apart from they look pretty damn sharp, these buildings, what are the features that this one up the road here has in Wonder Apartments?
So this next development, Wonder, a lot of our projects have been sold specifically to owner-occupiers, and the feedback from those buyers is they don't really want things that drive body corporate costs up, like pools and gyms and things that they don't often use but are there all the time and drive those body corporate costs up. So we specifically don't do those. And in this area there's, I don't know, probably 6 little gyms within a short walk, so if you're into that, that's on your doorstep anyway. Yeah,
plenty gyms here.
Gyms everywhere. But this building, we've got a communal garden and barbecue area on the rooftop, so it's the best part of the building. It's right on that northwest corner, and it'd probably be a $5 or $6 million penthouse if we sold that space. Glazed in, so it's sheltered, and it just gets stunning views from up there. You've got north to the city and the Sky Tower, and wrapping around the upper harbour, bit of the harbour bridge, and out to the Waikato Ranges, and just stunning sunsets up there. So more and more people have been asking us, can we use all the spaces that we're buying? And this building was actually built without decks. So part of that logic is that the building faces west, the predominant wind is from that southwest, and I actually live up the road myself facing the same direction, and I have a deck, but I can only go out there about once a month when the weather suits, Yep. And in the meantime I have all the space that I can't use, that I've paid for, that I can't utilise. And once again, that market feedback has been, often people ask, can I glaze in that space? Can I use that deck space that I have bought but can't actually get to? So this building was built, maximise the space. The site itself kind of drove that decision a bit, where we can't cantilever decks out over the footpath or anything. So putting them in would really compromise the shape and the efficiency of apartments. So we thought, why not put it on the roof? So there's almost 200 square metres of deck space up there, which residents in the building can use. A couple of barbecue areas, a bookable dining room space, you can have a dinner party, and a quiet space up there, like a little library. You can work with your laptop during the day. We're all
nice.
A lot of us are work from home focused these days.
Yeah, they do, certainly do.
And a toilet up there, so you don't have to run back to your apartment.
Oh, that's great. And I know this building here, you've got one out here on the first floor, I think it is, you've got an extra large one.
Yeah, there's a nice big landscape garden in this building.
But the views up there, because I know that you said the views up there are very similar to your top floor here, and incredible views. Just have to believe me with that.
Hard to show you from here, but 10 floors up in the air, and you're on a bit of a ridge up there, so really cool views.
And the other couple of things about this one, if I interrupt, is these are, I think it's 11 apartments approximately on each floor, and 8 or 9 of them all face where the views are.
Yes.
and northish, north to. What do they face? North to west?
Mostly west,
yeah.
Along the front.
But they've all got the views back over the Harbour Bridge way.
Yeah, and specifically mainly out towards the Waikato Ranges, so very cool sunsets.
Yeah, and if you want to get one of the couple on the other side, which are just slightly different designs, they're slightly cheaper, so you still want to get almost as good as rent as you would as an investor. Yeah. And you just pick it up for a slightly cheaper price.
And then other features, so living in an apartment building myself, I know the difficulties of receiving packages is a big one.
Yes, yep.
So mail and packages and food deliveries is quite a challenge. So in Wonder we've designed in quite a large room. It's a delivery room with, there'll be shelving in there, chill it down a little bit so that when you get your My Food bag or your Countdown delivery box, it's kept at a reasonable temperature, so when you get home in the afternoon it's not spoiled. And that is a key code entry for the couriers, safe, secure room, big space, and that will be a real bonus, I think.
That's fantastic, and that's where not only apartments or houses lack because of that, but some apartments I've seen the security, even though they still need a car to get in, the security is not that good, and the doors are left open for different reasons and stuff, but to have that where they just get the access in, I'm lucky in the apartment I have, it's similar. They don't have a cooler room, but they get the codes, and they're allowed to come in, the couriers, and they put it there, and it's a great way to
and that will
food deliveries
just make life easier. I've done a deal with Countdown. They'll deliver to the building like 9 times a day. So the local Countdown Ponsonby, and it just makes your life easier, doesn't it? Also in the building, we've got 4 retail spaces. So we're starting right now to put together like a stewardship document. Sort of who do we want in there? What would be good for the area? Maybe a little, organic shop. And there's plenty of cafes in the area, but another one wouldn't hurt. And we've always really wanted a nice little corner wine bar. I think that'll go well.
Nice.
And 100 bicycles, 100 bike capacity, with an actual slide door, so you can wheel your bike in without fighting with the door with the closer. Solar panels on the roof, with a Tesla Powerwall pack in the bike room, so free charging, free bikes, free charging, free scooters.
Okay.
Which leads into the sustainable sort of stuff. So this building, we've really put a lot of effort and time into sourcing the best products we can for doing the right thing, so really sustainable, really eco choices. Some things, for example, we might have a look when we walk around the showroom, but the carpet that runs down the hallways is made from, it's actually recycled, recovered fishing nets out of the ocean, and there's some really neat stories behind some of those products we've found, not just for the sake of a marketing gimmick, but because it's the right thing to do.
No, that's fantastic.
And so pretty much every product that goes in it has a background story to it like that.
Right. No, that's fantastic. I just love the fact that just the little things for this apartment. That it's not a developer just going, here's a block. Let's make it the cheapest and quickest and easiest we can do. The car parks and the bike parks. The doors. I can vouch for that. I've got a bike where I am, and it's not easy to get out. You're trying to grab the door and you're trying to grab the bike, and it's not easy. And have especially the rechargeable ones now. A lot of people have e-bikes. I don't, but I'm so young and fit.
Yes.
But
still on a steam bike.
Yeah, steam bike. Yeah, but having that's great. A lot of people in my building have electric bikes.
And the e-bikes are a bit heavier too. So thinking about how the parking racks work.
Yeah.
In this building, I see quite often petite ladies struggling with big heavy e-bikes, and they can't hang them up on the racks. So thinking about how that parking system works and all those little details. So we're not interested in doing, you mentioned build the cheapest product you can and whack them on. We're just not interested in doing lowest common denominator cheap stuff.
I guess back on your first or second product type, your time you built, maybe you did, or maybe you didn't, but certainly you learn, and I guess from what you've done. But I just different people have their different ways focus. They are, and their focuses on what they want to do and what they want to achieve.
We've always had a design standard that we stick to, and really focused on high quality, good design.
Right. And so if you are interested, you can contact us on the details below here, and we'll come here and show you the showroom, and Steve's around here. We might be lucky to have his presence as well, but otherwise we can show you everything here.
Yeah.
So thanks, Steve. I really appreciate your time today, and I really appreciate letting us in on helping you sell down your remaining product here.
Thank you for having me on.
All good. Thanks.